Welcome back. In this video we go into really the meat of your presentation, your material itself. And I call it Organize. Again, this brings it together to help really give you structure, and therefore build your confidence, which is what we're aiming for, aren't we? Okay, the first step is develop your major points. Recall in the last video, our final step was research. You got your material, now what do you want to run with it? Where do you want to go? Get back to your objective. Try to pick maybe 3 or so main topics or points you want to give your audience. You don't have a lot of time, typically 20 to 30 minutes, and you don't want to overwhelm them. What are some, I'd say the top 3 or so points that you want to leave with them? Use those as the foundation for your content. Your next step then is the outline. There's nothing wrong with using notes. In fact, I highly recommend it. Indeed, I would tell you, do not go into a presentation without some sort of written record. It'll keep you on message, of course on time. I prefer outline format. I use it all the time. It could be a full sheet like this, folded in half, could be little 3x5 cards. But keep it outline format as opposed to trying to type out your script, your message verbatim. Because then you'll be stuck up here reading that and you'll lose your audience really within 20 seconds. You want to keep your eye contact up there at the audience. And also it helps you to maintain that conversational tone, what you want. So develop your notes, but keep them in an outline format. Try to include some stories or anecdotes if you can. Really help to humanize or personalize your message, especially if they're your stories. That always helps. The audience then can relate to that. They think, okay, this person's up there, kind of an expert, but look, he or she went through a particular challenge or experienced this. They can relate to that. So it's not just dry material, but actually putting yourself into the presentation, into the material. Makes it more lively. A good quotation is nice too. If you happen to have a nice resource book for that, find one that's relevant. Adds a little spice to your presentation. But stories and anecdotes are great whenever you can incorporate them. Anticipate questions. By the way, make sure your pens work. Come to that later. You know, your material is going to cover the foundation, the fundamentals. But as you really think this through, try to imagine other questions that may come up. If so, try to just incorporate that material in. That'll minimize the raised hands later, which of course take time to cover. But it also lets your audience know that you're kind of thinking about them. Because they'll be sitting back there with questions, and all of a sudden if they hear you raise this particular point or add this information, think, wow, it answered that for me. So try to imagine some questions that may come at you. Think of a good opening. Avoid the old, thank you, Mr. Event Organizer, I'm so happy to be here type. That's boring. Lead with an attention getter. Typically a question or some statement, say a fact. Picked up some data out of history or from some source. Lead with that and make your audience sit up and take notice. So come up with a good opening, a good start to your presentation. Get your audience, grab them right away, and keep them in with your content. And finally, for the organization part, make sure you coordinate with any of your other tools or elements that you're going to be bringing along. A lot of people use PowerPoint. Well, that's fine. Make sure, though, you don't fall into or be ensnared by King PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is designed to help or augment your presentation, not be it all by itself. Don't let it take over your presentation. But perhaps you have an object of some sort, kind of a show and tell part of your presentation. That's fine. It can really assist your material, but make sure that it's accessible for one thing. You can reach it easily, but it's kind of inobtrusive. When and how do you bring it in? You simply just pick it up. Well, when you get to your rehearsal stage, which is coming up, you start to work that in as well. But make sure you coordinate for all and account for all of your elements. That's the organization part. We move on to rehearsal. So I'll see you in the next video.